All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about a book that's, well, legendary, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And we're going straight to the heart of it, to his very first and maybe most important idea, the power of desire. Hill's whole philosophy really hinges on this one critical distinction. See, anyone can wish for something, right? More money, a promotion, whatever. But a wish, it's just weak. It's passive. A real, burning desire. Now that's a totally different animal. It's an active, relentless force. And that's the difference we're going to unpack today. And trust me, this isn't some niche idea. It has resonated in a massive way. I mean, since it first came out, Think and Grow Rich has sold over 100 million copies worldwide. That's insane. We're talking about a philosophy that has been a playbook for innovators and leaders for almost 100 years now. So here's what we've got on tap. We'll touch on the book's history, break down those famous 6 steps, see if the science backs it up, talk about the man himself, yeah, there's some drama there, and then we'll wrap up by making this all practical for you. Okay, first up, to really get why this book hit like a thunderbolt, you gotta understand the time and place it came from. So, picture this. It's 1937. The whole country is in the grips of the Great Depression. I mean, people are struggling, they're desperate, they're scared. And then, right in the middle of all that darkness, this book drops with this wild, radical promise that your thoughts could literally be turned into money. Can you imagine? It was like a lifeline of hope when people had nothing else to hold on to. All right, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. For Hill, desire wasn't just this fuzzy, warm feeling. No way. He saw it as a solid, step-by-step process you could actually follow. And this is really the key. When Hill uses the word desire with a capital D, he's not talking about a casual want. He means a full-blown obsession. A goal so clear, so definite, that you attack it with total faith and you just don't stop. It is the exact opposite of just sitting around daydreaming. And nothing shows this better than the story of Edwin C. Barnes. This guy is a huge part of the book. Think about it. He had zero money, zero connections, absolutely nothing going for him, except this one all-consuming desire to work with Thomas Edison. He didn't just wish for it. He basically burned the bridges behind him and declared, I will work with Edison. So he shows up, takes a low-level job, and just waits, patiently, until he gets his shot. And he does. That right there is the difference. But Hill also gives us a story of what not to do, a real cautionary tale. It's about a guy named R.U. Darby. He and his uncle strike gold, they're digging away, and then the vein disappears. So they give up. They sell all their equipment and go home. And the guy who buys it, he just brings in an expert who says, hey, you just need to dig a little over here. And guess what? The gold was literally 3 feet away from where they stopped digging. Just 3 feet. It's a brutal lesson that desire without persistence is, well, it's useless. And that brings us to the recipe itself, his famous 6 steps. This is the blueprint for taking that fuzzy wish and hammering it into a solid goal. Look at how specific it is. This isn't about magic wands. The point of writing it down and reading it out loud every day is to literally burn it into your subconscious mind, to make it your default setting. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little woo-woo, right? A bit mystical? Well, here's the crazy part. Almost 100 years later, science and psychology are basically saying, yeah, he was onto something. Just look at this. It's fascinating. You can literally map Hill's ideas directly onto modern psychological concepts. What he called desire, we now call goal-setting theory. His idea of faith, that's pretty much what we call self-efficacy today, believing you could actually do it. Persistence? Well, you've probably heard of grit. And his autosuggestion? That's basically cognitive priming. The guy was intuitively grasping concepts that scientists would spend decades proving with research. It's pretty incredible. But we can't just talk about the ideas without talking about the man behind them. And that, my friends, is where things get, well, a little messy. So we have to ask the big, tough question here. Can you trust the message when the messenger himself is, let's say, controversial? I mean, for starters, that whole story about meeting Andrew Carnegie, the one that supposedly started everything, most historians say there's just no proof it ever happened. On top of that, his own business career was a roller coaster of failures and even accusations of fraud. He claimed to be an advisor to a president, but there are no records of it. And then, there's some serious and troubling personal stuff, too. So what do you do with that? You've got this paradox, right? On one hand, you have these ideas that have genuinely changed millions of lives for the better. On the other, the guy who wrote them down had a checkered past, to put it mildly. I think the only way to look at it is this. Take the principles that work, the ones that are actionable, but don't swallow the whole myth, hook, line, and sinker. You gotta be a critical thinker here.
Okay, so with all of that in mind, let's bring it back home. Let's talk about you. How can you take these powerful ideas and actually use them without getting lost in the, let's call it, the noise? And this is where a lot of people trip up. It's so easy to set a goal that's so huge, so out there, that your own brain just goes, nope, not happening. And if your subconscious doesn't buy in, the whole thing falls apart. The real trick is finding that perfect balance, that sweet spot between a big, exciting dream and something you can actually believe is possible. So, here's a super practical way to do it. Step 1, do your homework. Ground your goal in some real data. Look up what's actually possible in your industry. Step 2, stretch but don't snap. If your research shows that a 30% raise is a big but achievable goal, aim for that. Don't aim for a 300% raise the next Tuesday. And finally, step 3, give yourself a real deadline, a timeline that makes sense for the amount of work it's going to take. And this right here, this is what a final statement looks like. It's not a fluffy dream. It's precise, it has an exact date, and crucially, it says what you're willing to put on the line, what you'll give in return. You're not wishing anymore. You're making a deal with yourself. You're giving your brain a crystal clear target to lock onto. And so, we've come full circle. A wish? It's just air. It doesn't do anything. But a real, burning desire, one that you forge into a concrete goal and back up with sheer, stubborn persistence, well, that has the power to change your entire world. So the only question I have for you is, what's yours going to be?